guys, it's Jessica from Peace Out Books, and today I'm here with my mid-month wrap-up for August. I have read 20 books in the first half of August, and now that's not normal. I was a reading machine this past half of the month because I literally went back to school today. So I'm a teacher. Today was our first work day, and I wanted to savor the last few weeks of summer, and so I was reading a lot. I also was listening to a lot of audiobooks, so I got through 20 things, which is a lot and not at all normal, and I have a feeling the second half of August is going to be way, way less, but I've read a lot of really good things. I've gotten through a lot by some authors I'm trying to complete their backlist for, so I will go ahead and get to the 20 things that I've read so far this month. The first two books are actually ones I read both on the same day because I was driving home from a Polycon, which was from DC, and it ended up being almost a 7-hour drive on my way home because I was going to my parents' house who live further away from DC than my house is, so I added another like 20 minutes, and this was my birthday, August 1st, so I spent a majority of the day driving, but I did listen to Perfect Wreckage by Catherine Cowles. This drive was a little bit not the best because I was not loving the audiobooks I listened to. This is book 2 in her Wrecked series, and I love Catherine Cowles, but this one was a little slow for me, so I think I gave it either 3 or 3.5 stars. This one, our heroine, she was like inheriting this house from someone. She was dating this guy, so she inherited this house, and it was from someone she's not related to by like blood, and they gave it to her, and that person's family is trying to fight for it, and so she's going through the court system to try to fight them to inherit this house, and she's also kind of hooking up with this lawyer, and not a whole lot really happened. So I do think when I'm talking about this, definitely more of a 3-star read. I didn't really love this book as much as I wanted to, and it was more on the boring side. Even like looking at the synopsis, I was just like, what happened? I'm pretty sure they agreed to just like have this fling and then they started falling for each other. I did enjoy the hero. He was a lawyer in town and he really cared about this one child who was in the foster care system, so that took up a bit of the plot, but other than that, nothing really special. I didn't love it. I didn't love the romance, so sadly I gave this one 3 stars, but I did read another one in this series that I enjoyed. Then I read Frenched by Melanie Harlow, and Melanie Harlow is very hit or miss for me. This one, I was excited because I knew it took place in France, but I was so bored listening to this audiobook. It's pretty short. It was like a 7-hour audiobook, but our heroine, she ends up, I think she gets like cheated on or dumped or something, and she ends up going to France on their honeymoon with this list of things that she wants to do, and she is very rich, and she does all these things. She meets a guy, and it goes from there. I hated the third act conflict in here, and it was just pretty boring. It was just her going to France and meeting a guy, and I was like, can we have a little bit more to the plot? There was nothing I really cared for, so this one was definitely a 3-star read, probably more like a 2.5. I just did not care about these characters or this plot, and like I said, it was very boring and very forgettable, and I should have just DNF'd it, but I was determined to finish since it was so short, and I listened to my audiobooks on 3 times speed, so I was gonna fly through this anyways, but didn't really love any of the characters. I just didn't care at all about this book. Then I read Sailor Proof by Annabeth Albert. This is another audiobook I listened to. It's an MM. Our one hero is in the Navy, and he ended up having to end a relationship that he's in, and he wants to make his ex kind of jealous, and so his friend ends up saying, hey, why doesn't my brother act like a boyfriend you're coming home to, and you can like show him that you're over him? And so they come home, and him and this other guy end up having this really great kiss, and it ends up blowing up on social media because one of the other guy's friends is like, has a huge social media platform. She recorded it, she posted it, and people are like going crazy over it. So then they decide to fake date, and they end up going to the family reunion of the other guy, and the other guy's kind of had a crush though on the guy in the Navy for a while, but he's like 5 years younger, and so when they were younger it was like too big of an age gap for the age they were at, but now that he is older, they realize that they do have a lot of chemistry together, but they're like, do we give into this? Because then it's gonna get complicated, and it was really cute. I do think that the audiobook was the way to go with this because it just let me like fly through the story and enjoy their cute moments together. I think I might have been a little bored if I read it physically, but reading it on audio, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cute fake dating, and one of them trying to get over an ex, and is he trying to still make him jealous or not? I don't know. You'll have to read to find out, but I enjoyed it. I gave this one 4 stars. Then I read There's Venom in His Kiss by Alexandria Lee. I did get an arc of this from the author, and this one was just it's not the book, it's me kind of thing. It was very character driven and I didn't care enough about these characters to like love this book. I gave it 3 stars. Our heroine is the daughter of like the head of the FBI or something, and so this FBI agent has to take her to Quantico, which is like I think by DC, and they had to go like cross country, but she has trauma where she can't fly. And the hero is like, I'm taking you there no matter what, and she also, very heavy trigger warnings for suicide because the entire time she wants to die. It was just like really hard to grasp with her character, and she also was very crass with him and very explicit, like trying to get a rise out of him, and they had to travel across the country together, and so I wasn't the biggest fan of their dynamics and their relationship. She kind of confused me because she was trying to put herself in all these like very dangerous situations that almost got her killed, and then there was like another person that came in, and then there was somehow like a murder happen. There was just like a lot going on, and I just didn't really care, and there was no development of the romance really that much until the end. And someone already commented on my review saying, well, it's a slow burn duet and you have to wait until the second book to like get your payoff. I didn't care enough about the characters to want to read book 2 to get a payoff. I needed a little bit more. You have to give us something in the books if you're gonna wait that much to give us a payoff in their relationship, and I just did not care about their chemistry or their relationship, and there's just too much going on in this plot that like nothing really hooked me, and it just like went from thing to thing to thing, and I feel like nothing really meshed that well together. So I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. I was not the biggest fan, unfortunately, of this book. Then I listened to the audiobook of Wrecked Palace, and I like this one a lot more. I gave it 4.5 stars. Our heroine is technically a single mom. She's raising her 3 siblings because her parents were into drugs, so now they're in jail, and she is really struggling to provide for her siblings, though the community really helps her a lot, and she works at this convenience store, and our hero is pretty wealthy. He has a very tragic past of his own. He offers to hire her as a personal chef as a way to help her because he's just a really good guy, and they end up falling for each other. It is really sweet. He's super rich, and of course her siblings love going over to his house, and they have a really slowly developing romance, and she's also dealing with repercussions of her parents' choices. Some bad guy, you know, is involved, like every Catherine Cowles book, and there's kidnappings and trying to figure out who the bad guy is, and I just really enjoy this one. The more that I talk about this one, the more I want to give it 4.5 stars. It was super sweet. I really love a single parent romance, and she really had to put her siblings first, which was really unfair because she had custody of them when she was in college, so she didn't really get to do things for herself, and she's struggling to provide for them, and I just thought this was cute. And we got to see the characters from the previous books. We get to see they're really close friends, so we saw all of them throughout the 3. Like we see her with her siblings in books 1 and 2, and so far I really love books 1 and 3 of this series, and I'm excited to continue on. Just really sweet small town romances. Catherine Cowles writes really emotional books, so these are all really emotional. Lots of characters with damaged pasts. I just really like these. Then I listened to the audiobook of Bad Boys Break Hearts by Macaulay Smelter. I gave this one 5 stars. It's a new adult romance, and it's so good. So our hero and heroine actually have a past. Our heroine, something really bad happened with her family, and she had to move, and she was best friends with the hero, but he is sad that she never reached out or talked to him and like left so abruptly, and so he has a rock star dad who's really famous, and he is now the like hotshot baseball player, has a reputation on campus, and he runs into our heroine, is immediately super angry with her and hates her because they go to the same college now, and I really like that dynamic. Like he just can't get over his own anger and like puts that on to the heroine, and she has really sweet roommates. Their relationship kind of reminds me of the Wreck series by Catherine Cowles, where they just like get along so well, they mesh really well, and they want to have the college experience together. She goes to some parties, meets a guy, and it's our hero's best friend who wants to date her, which is another one that I love that trope for, and so the hero like is kind of getting closer to her and bringing her around his family, like reminding them about her, and she's kind of feeling like that kind of family love because her dad is out of the picture now, and her mom really like broke down after what happened, so she doesn't really have a great family. He helps give that to her and wants the best for her too, and so I just really had a lot of fun with this. It's a new adult, very dramatic. He's just the bad boy, and I liked it. And he also had a lot to deal with his family as well and confronting his dad about things, and so very good romance. I enjoyed the audiobook, so I gave this 5 stars. Then I ended up picking up Misfit by Al Kennedy. I was sent this from a PR company, so thank you to them for sending this to me. This one I actually had a lot of fun reading. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. The beginning takes a lot to get into because it's very slow, and you get points of views of like 6 different characters, even though it's really the relationship between the 2 main characters, RJ and Slade. Sloan. And so RJ is used to being like the bad boy, doesn't care about anything. They're at this boarding school. Well, he's at a boarding school that's all boys, and Sloan is actually the headmaster's daughter, so she like lives in the area and she's already dated someone there, and it's very like gossip girly. They're just rich kids who get in a lot of trouble and they're all at a boarding school, and I had a lot of fun. Once you get past the slow beginning, things really start picking up. Sloan's sister had something happen to her that's really mysterious that we're trying to unravel as well, and she's getting closer to one of Sloan's best friends, and Sloan is trying to put off this guy that she dated for a long time who's not over her, and she's falling for RJ, and they have to sneak around because her dad can't know. I do want to say there are some comments from people on Goodreads that are talking about how they aren't happy with the bisexual representation. The only bisexual character in this book is a sex and drug addict, which does perpetuate some harmful stereotypes of bisexual people, so please know that going in. I am aware that that is not the best represented in this book, but I still really enjoyed all these characters, and I'm very excited to pick up book 2 because there was a cliffhanger, and I really want to know what happens next, and I'd be interested to see if we have the same couple we're focusing on, if we're going to focus on Sloan's sisters' relationships. I don't know, but all these characters really intrigued me, so I'm excited to read more. Then I listened to the audiobook of The Silent Waters by Brittany C. Cherry in preparation for my interview with her. I did get to interview her last week, and it was so amazing. She is the sweetest person ever. I will link that down below if you want to see it, but I gave it 5 stars. I knew I was gonna love it. Averie, I will link her channel down below. She absolutely loved this book, and I love books 1 and 4, and so I went back and read book 3, and I had the audiobook for this. It was absolutely amazing. Maggie and Brooks have known each other since they were young. Maggie was like, we're gonna get married, we love each other, and Brooks really liked her, but then she ended up experiencing something very, very traumatic in her childhood that at this point she does not speak anymore, and she does not leave her house. She cannot step foot out of her house, she cannot talk to anybody, and she is living with her stepmom, step siblings, and her dad. And so Brooks is there for her along the way. They're best friends, they end up turning into something more, but then he's in a band and they make it big and he has to leave, and I thought this was a super, super emotional read. I gave it 5 stars. I'm obsessed with Brooks and his character. He is so, so sweet, and I love how Brittany C. Cherry explores familial relationships. People are not perfect, they hurt each other, but then they will be there for each other and build up what they broke, and it was amazing. And Brooks was just so patient, and he was amazing. I love this book so much. Just the scene of this cover breaks my heart, and this book breaks my heart, but it was amazing. 5 stars. If you have not yet read this, please read this. Then I read Stone Princess by Devney Perry. I gave this one 3 stars. It is for our Clifton Forge read along I'm doing with Sam from Sam Reads Little and Tori from Live a Novel Life. We are on book 5 now on the day I'm filming this, so we are finishing that on the next 2 weeks because there are 6 books. They're all on KU, and it follows a disbanded motorcycle club. So this one follows a character who works in a garage with all of the MC people. She's running away from a very tortured past, trigger warnings for abuse, and all that happening. She experienced that and she got out of it, and she hid out in this small town, and here's a movie star coming into town. I don't especially love like famous people romances. They have to be done really, really well for me to like them. This one I didn't really love. I gave it 3 stars. The beginning was super boring. I read this on my 24-hour reading vlog, and I just complained about it the whole time. There was a huge miscommunication trope. The hero blamed the heroine for something and was like, I knew I could never trust you, and then they had to work up from there. The last 40% I really did enjoy because we had other man drama, like she started dating someone else because she was mad at him, and I love that drama, and we finally got somewhere going in the story, but other than that, it was just okay. We do have this still kind of, not mystery, but danger through all the books, and this book very much felt like a bridge book to get to the next book where we had a lot more action and a lot more just goodness in the romance. Like I really loved their chemistry and their romance in book 4, but in this one it was just okay. I feel like we're setting all these characters up for the next one, so I gave it 3 stars. Then I read the novella My Best Friend's Sister by Kiwi Tyler. I'm trying to finish her backlist. This is what it sounds like. It is a best friend sister romance. Our hero lives in New York. The heroine is in New York for law school. Her brother tells his best friend, look after my sister. He doesn't see her for a couple months, and she gets into a situation where she needs to get home, so she calls our hero, and someone in one of her classes likes her, and she doesn't have a lot of experience, experience, so she asks her brother's best friend, who is a little older, very rich, to help her in that department, and he agrees, and then they fall for each other. So it's very short, it's very hot, very steamy, very typical QB Tyler. It's not super taboo because he's only like 5 years older than her, but I had a lot of fun reading it, and I gave it 4 stars. The beginning felt a little awkward with the dialogue, but once you got into it and once you got into their relationship, I had a lot of fun. Very quick novella, 4 stars. Then I picked up What Hassan Wants by Danielle Allen. This is only available in paperback on her website right now, so I bought one because she's one of my favorite authors. This is really good because it's kind of like a forbidden romance-ish, because Hassan meets our heroine in the bar. He's supposed to meet up with his friend from work. He doesn't show up. He sees this girl who works at the bar and he's super into her. They hook up, and it turns out his friend is best friends with her, and his best friend is like, that's the love of my life, like she is destined to be with me, she just doesn't know it yet. And Hassan is like, I just hooked up with her and I had a really good time and I want to pursue something with her, but he doesn't want to betray his best friend. So that's really where the story goes from here. Very hot again. I love Danielle Allen's romances. She has such insane chemistries with these characters. I gave it 4.5 stars. I had a lot of fun, and how they were trying to figure out if they wanted to pursue something, and the heroine is like, my friend doesn't get to dictate who I date. He does not get to say I'm his because he's just a friend. And so I liked our heroine's character a lot, and like I said, tons of chemistry between them. I just really enjoyed this one. As a reread, I listened to the audiobook of It Ain't Me Babe by Tilly Cole from the Hades Hagman series so that I can get through more of the series now. I've read this, I think in like 2018. It's been a long time. They are motorcycle romances, and our heroine actually escapes from a cult. She purposely runs away, and she is like on the verge of death because she was attacked by a dog when she was leaving. She's bleeding out. Our hero is Styx. He is the president of the MC, and he is also has a stutter, so he uses a lot of ASL. He doesn't like to speak, and when he gets frustrated, he likes to show his power through aggression, and so he constantly says things like he earns his respect, and he is the leader of an MC, so this is definitely very dark. It deals with a lot of things happening that happen in a motorcycle romance. It's definitely a darker motorcycle romance, so they don't talk the best about women. There's people sleeping around all the time. There's lots of violence, and so he is falling in love with the heroine who escaped. He had actually seen her when he was young, and he feels like he can really trust her and talk to her, and they're trying to bring down the people who are the cult leaders, as well as someone who has betrayed their club. I love this book. I gave it 5 stars. I'm not loving book 2 as much as I love book 1, but I just really love these two characters and how much they fall for each other, and how they're trying to figure out the traitor in their midst and take down this cult. So like the ending is crazy, and I just really love this one because she does have siblings in this cult still, and she's trying to just figure out what normal society is, and it's so good. And I love a good dark MC romance, so I really love this. Then I read The Rake Gets Ravished by Sophie Jordan. In the beginning of this one, I was really enjoying it. The heroine's brother actually gambled away their family like estate or farm, and so she is trying to get into the offices of the titled guy, I don't remember what his title was, to get the papers and like destroy them or steal them so that she can take her estate back. And the hero sees her there. They end up in a compromising position, so he kind of thinks she's a courtesan, and they end up having a fun time together, and he wakes up and realizes that she's gone, and so are the deeds to the estate that he had inherited. And so he ends up showing up at their estate saying, you could be pregnant with my child, I'm not leaving, and I know what you did. And so that's really the premise of the book, and it started out so good. Like, I love their dynamic together, but then nothing else really happened. So once the Duke ends up showing up, like, not a lot really happened in this book. It was pretty short. It was like a 7-hour audiobook, and I wanted so much more in that second half of the book, and nothing really delivered on that front. I didn't care for the romance. I didn't care about what was happening with their estate, with the brothers, like nothing. So I ended up giving it 3 stars. The beginning was so intriguing, and so much more could have been done with it, but overall I was pretty disappointed, pretty bored, so I gave this one 3 out of 5 stars. Then I picked up Garnet Flats by Devney Perry. I did get a paperback copy from the author, and this was so angsty, and I was obsessed. So our heroine was madly in love with her hero when they were in college, and she was gonna move to Seattle, and he was gonna come with her, but then one day he's like, I'm in love with your best friend, we're getting married, and breaks her heart. She moves back home, and she never wants to see him again, and he ends up showing up like 8 years later, and he's like, I'm gonna win you back, I'm getting a divorce. And so they have to really unravel why he had betrayed her, and he is actually a UFC fighter. He's training in their small town. He set up a gym and he's trying to win her back. And not a lot of people in her family know about the drama, so it's slowly unraveling the drama to her family. They're all very protective of her, and she does not trust him, and it is so angsty because there's still that chemistry between them, and she can't stay away, and he won't leave her alone, and they end up falling in love again. And it makes me really, really frustrated why he broke her heart in the past, and I am mad at her for forgiving some people, but I can't get over how angsty this book was and how obsessed I was with it and how much I wanted her to get back together with him. Like, there could have been things that avoided the whole situation, but I'm putting that aside and focusing on how I felt reading this book, and I loved it so much, and I gave it 5 stars. I loved how he was training for a fight at the end in Vegas, and how she was trying to understand how their lives would fit together and if she could trust him again, and it was so angsty and so good. I loved it. Then I ended up reading Tinsel by Devney Perry. This one, I'm gonna put the other cover up here because this one is my special edition from Hello Lovely, and it's super, super white. But I ended up reading this one. It is the final book in the Lark Cove series, which has been very hit or miss for me, and this one was another miss. I gave it 3 stars. I don't care about a rich and privileged heroine who has never worked a day in her life. So our heroine, she's very rich, she doesn't do anything, she didn't even know what a dustpan was. She was like sweeping and picking up stuff with her fingers and throwing it away. So it's very similar to like It Happened One Summer. She ends up getting this expose written about her that's horrible and embarrassing to her, so she runs away to the small town her brother lives in and is gonna work at their bar. And so the hero works at the bar. He is the one who really runs the bar, and he is trying to make a living for himself that he can be proud of, and he like lives and breathes the bar right now. And she ends up showing up, and he's very annoyed because he's gonna have to end up training her, and he doesn't want her mistakes. And then they end up falling for each other, and they really fall into bed with each other very, very quickly and start this physical relationship while she's working there, and then learning to trust each other. And I was very bored. I just didn't care about her and her problems, and the romance was fine, but then it just kept on going on and on. Maybe because this was the last book, so we needed closure. I know there's gonna be a novella that comes after, I think, but this was another boring one in the series. This is definitely not my favorite. I gave book 1 4 stars, book 2 3 stars, book 3 5 stars, and this one 3 stars. So there's only been one really standout in this series, but overall, I wasn't that impressed. I really didn't love it. I thought there were 5 books in the series, but there might be 4. I read this, I didn't love it. I feel like I had a lot of misses this month, but then I read Noble Prince, which is book 4 in the Clifton Forge series, and I love this so much better than book 3. I think I gave it like 4.5 stars. The hero is the police officer from the previous book who dated the heroine in the previous book, and he is investigating something that I can't talk about, and he falls for someone I can't talk about. So I ended up really enjoying this because it's very forced proximity. The heroine in this one has to hide out undercover, and she's very stubborn and doesn't want to hide out, so he ends up taking her to his house and making her hide out there, and it takes a very long time. It's a very slow burn, but they end up falling for each other. He's trying to investigate something and figure out like what's happening, and trying to come to terms with working with people that are not on the right side of the law. It reminded me a lot of Good Gone Bad by Gianna Darling, because he's trying to trust people in an MC, and he is having to admit like you will not always catch the bad guy, and sometimes you have to work with the bad guy to catch worse people. So I had a lot of fun reading this. I loved their dynamic. I loved Luke so much. He's one of my favorite heroes of the series so far, and I like where the story's going. Like, the plot really picked up in this one, and we had a lot with the mystery going on with the rival MC club. So I'm excited to see where the series goes next, and I can't wait to finish the last 2 books. Then I ended up listening to the audiobook of Bombshell by Sarah McLean because I wanted to kind of get back into historicals, and I gave this one 2.5 stars. So the beginning, again, sounded very promising. Our heroine is very much defying society standards. She's single, she's had sexual relations before, she is 30 now, and she's part of the society of women who are trying to like take down these men who are going after women-owned businesses and stuff. And first off, I feel like I was missing a lot. I feel like I should have known a lot of these characters and these things, and I didn't. And I've heard you need to be familiar with her other works in order to read this one. I've read her books a long time ago, like her Wallflower series, Wicked Wallflower, Bare Knuckle Bastard series. I read that years ago. I don't remember, so I feel like I was missing a lot in this one. We have our hero who is from America. He's wealthy. They have a past. I really love their first connection, and she got into a dangerous situation. He helped her, and then again, the plot got super boring. Nothing was happening. Nothing was happening with the romance and I didn't care about anything. And so it took me forever to finish this and I just did not care, but I was so close to the end. I had like 3 hours left in the audiobook and I'm like, I want to finish this so I can call this book finished, and I just did not care. It was so slow and not a lot happening, and a lot of people complain that Sarah McLean's are too like contemporary, and I feel like it was trying too hard to be very progressive with her character and didn't go anywhere. Like, it could have gone so many cool directions and it didn't, and so I just quickly lost interest and not my favorite. Then I read Shattered Sea by Catherine Cowles. This comes out in September and I love this one so much. Our heroine works at an art gallery, and in the beginning we get a flashback of her in high school losing her high school boyfriend in a car accident, and so she is devastated and she has chronic pain in her back now because of the accident, and she has a cute little dog and she's just going through life. And this one also has a movie star coming to the small town, but it was done so well. He is in town in order to research like horse training because of this movie that he is filming, and he sees her and immediately is intrigued. He has lost someone recently in his past too, so they really bond over that, and they end up slowly, very slowly falling for each other, and he is the sweetest. He is there for her for everything that she needs. He wants her to open up to him and trust him with her chronic pain, and it was so sweet. There's a lot of suspense in here, I feel like more so than the other series, because there is someone coming after some of the people that were in her accident now, like 10 years later, and she is still dealing with her dead boyfriend's family and like being there for them and like reliving the pain though whenever she is with them, and trying to show them that she's moving on and feeling guilty for moving on with this new guy. And lots of action in here, lots of suspense, but I really enjoyed this. I gave it 4.5 rounding up to 5 stars. I didn't love who the villain was in the end, but I can see why that happened, and so that wouldn't be my first choice for the villain, but I still really enjoyed it, and I think it was just a great, sweet Catherine Cowles romance. Like, this series is my favorite so far. I think I've given everything 4.5 or 5 stars in the series. They're all amazing. Then I read The Bitterroot Inn by Devney Perry, finishing out another series by Devney Perry. This one is the last one in the Jameson Valley series, and I was excited. The heroine's a single mom. She works at a hotel, and she sees a guy come in, and she is super attracted to him, and we know he knows her somehow. We got a flashback where it was her giving birth and he was there but didn't say anything, and then he has not been in town since then. Now her son is like 5 or 6, I think, and she's very dedicated to raising her son. The father's not in the picture. She was kidnapped in book 1 and ended up killing the father in book 1, so lots of stuff going on there, and so she is just trying to have a better life. And he is very secretive though. Like, they start dating and she doesn't even know what he does for work, which like really frustrated me. I was like, how could you date someone and trust someone and not even ask them what they do for work? And she was like, well, you know, we just like, we're always with my son, and then we were like doing other things when we were alone, so it never came up. And I was like, if you're so hard to trust someone after your ex was like super bad, why would you not? And she was like, oh, I was in denial and I didn't want to know. I knew he was hiding something, but that was very annoying to me. So I gave this one 3.5 out of 5 stars. I did enjoy the romance and I love a good single parent small town, but he was obviously hiding something. And then of course when it came out, she was super mad, and I was like, you knew you were gonna be mad. You avoid this the whole time. It was annoying. So I gave it 3.5 stars. I wanted to love it more, but it was still a sweet romance. And the last book I've read this month is Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. This one I have an entire reading vlog that came out, and I was obsessed with this book. I gave it 5 stars. Definitely probably gonna be my favorite of the month. I don't know how to explain this though, because it's about BJ and Magnolia, and they broke up 3 years ago, and they have always been each other's soulmates, but BJ really betrays her. He cheats on her. That's pretty much told in the beginning, so please know that going in though. It does deal with cheating. She does not know who it was with or why. She just knows he cheated because he told her right after it happened, and they have been self-sabotaging ever since. They are so bad to each other, but they're for each other and bringing other people into the picture. He just sleeps around. She is a serial dater, and people are falling in love with her because she leans on a lot of other people, but she's still hung up on BJ, and BJ always says, she's the love of my life. She is still the love of my life. She will always be the love of my life. It's very toxic, very emotional, kind of like Gossip Girl. They're all super wealthy too. They throw their money around. The writing in here is absolutely beautiful. I was addicted to these characters and everything they were going through. I could not put this book down. The ending made me so frustrated, but like in a good way. I was so into these characters and obsessed that it broke me at the end, and I had so much fun reading this book. 5 stars, highly recommend. There's no plot though. It's very, very character driven, and you're just following them treating each other horribly, but also needing each other, and like they could not not be in each other's lives. So I love this. I can't wait to read book 2. I could not recommend it enough if that's something you want to read. And those are the books that I've read so far in August. Let me know down below what you've read and what your favorites are so far this month. I would love to hear. As always, thank you so much for watching and have a good day. Bye.